It is a local race, but it is a local race with national implications. Heather MacDonald is running for the Pennsylvania House of Representatives to represent District 87. The district is currently represented by Republican Greg Rothman. Heather's story involves becoming a mother at age 17 and experiencing firsthand the social safety net so many of us take for granted in this country. Find out all you need to know by going to voteheatherforpa.com. And here she is, Heather MacDonald. Welcome to You Can't Beat Blue. Hi.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this all week.
I want to talk about the people of the 87th. Can you talk a little about who those people are and what their day-to-day needs are?
Yeah, of course. This isn't a heavily Democratic district. It's not a heavily Republican district. It is a district full of people that are overlapping with one another. You do have to have views that are practical. So I am unapologetically progressive, but I have just a brutal practicality from being a young mother that I think speaks to everybody here, because they won't take anything that's too fluffy. They won't take pie in the sky. So the issues that you find that are important when you knock on doors are a mixture of national ideas, but also hyper-local ideas. We are a district where if there's going to be a Chick-fil-A built on a corner that's going to disrupt the school children who walk to school, we all know about it. And we want to make sure that we are going to preserve our way of life. We like where we live. We live here for a reason. So let's make sure that what we're doing is inclusive for everyone coming in, but also sustainable for going forward.
It's always a good thing for a candidate to be able to say that they've walked in the shoes of their voters. You received some surprising news at the age of 16 that really altered your life course completely from what you might have expected.
Yes. So I always tell people I had a very normal life. I think we all take for granted sometimes just a normal childhood, middle class upbringing. And then I did get pregnant at 16, and that was my first introduction to choice. And so I made the choice to have my son when I was 17. And at that moment, I was introduced to an entirely new world over here that was just different than the comfort and the security that I was used to. I had to navigate welfare. And anyone that thinks welfare is easy and you can coast and put your feet up has no idea what they're talking about. It is very difficult to get. It is very difficult to keep. And you have to apply for everything separately. You have to be incredibly poor to actually qualify. And so I navigated welfare in the forms of healthcare for myself, healthcare for my infant. Every person that's gone through poverty plays that shell game. They all have a running knowledge of every single cent that they have to their name. And a lot of times when it came down to being hungry, you would think that would be a last resort. But when your child's hungry, that is very much on the table. You will do anything to keep their status quo as high as possible. And you'll kind of take the hits if necessary. That safety net that you mentioned absolutely caught me. But what happens now? Am I going to let the door shut behind me? It's untenable to me. It is not enough that I make it through. It's enough that I now have that knowledge and I can hold the door open for the next person.
I know education is a big priority to you. So I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about your very unusual path to your own degree.
Yes. When I had my son, I was still in high school and I had to graduate. And the only way to graduate was to homeschool myself. It was the only way I was going to get my degree. And so I had to commit and learn how to do that. And so I did. I did it with my son on my lap. After that, I knew I wanted to go somewhere else. And so honestly, I had no plan. One day I did an exploratory visit to my community college. And when I did that, I also committed to myself that I wouldn't take on any student loan debt. I inherently knew that I could not afford to be poorer, and so I could not afford to take on debt. And so I only took classes when I could afford them, when I could pay for them, which meant sometimes I didn't take classes at all. Sometimes, most times I took one class per semester, because it's not just the class too, it's the books, it's the text, everything you need to do, which is highly detrimental if you don't have a ton of excess money waiting for you. And so because of that commitment I made to myself, it took me 12 years to get a 2-year degree, but I never stopped. I just kept doing. I kind of relied on habit to take over. I just got into the habit of it. It was devastating the times I couldn't take classes, but I had to commit. And I promise you, when the degree came to me, it meant so much more to me, I think, than someone else in that position. I didn't even open it. It was in one of those envelopes that says "Do not bend." And I was like, it's here. I didn't even want to open it. And it was so impactful. So that is a story that I will take and actually implement. I want to make sure that our community college colleges in Pennsylvania are healthy, funded well, their funding has been cut by 20%, which means that the students have to make that up. Had that been in place when I was there, it might have taken me 20 years to get a degree, or the system may have been too much for me to bear, and I may not have gotten a degree at all. And so in Pennsylvania, we have a teacher shortage. We have teachers that are going to our universities and getting degrees to become teachers and then leaving the state because they know someone will pay them. They will pay them what they're worth somewhere else. And so we need to raise minimum teacher pay here so that we can have good teachers. They can't be our heroes in 2020 and then discarded in the future.
Well said. Your state of Pennsylvania puts education into peril quite a bit. It is second in the nation in terms of the amount of debt a college student graduates with, someplace around $36,000 to $37,000 in debt. Now, there is a horse racing industry also in Pennsylvania, and the governor, Tom Wolf, has been trying to redirect about $200 million a year from supporting the horse racing industry and getting that money into scholarships to get students to attend universities in Pennsylvania. I bring this up because your opponent, Greg Rothman, has been fighting very hard for the horse racing industry and to keep that money there.
But you know what's interesting is the way that you just described that, which A+ on the research, Carrie. The way that you described that sounds exactly what a conservative that I know them to be as growing up would want. Let's go ahead and take an industry that is very niche and very not really where we should be putting our money, and go ahead and put it in this very practical place, our students. And when we say something like Greg is for horses, what is Greg against then? Greg is against the students. He's against that longevity. I already know in 2 of the school districts in my district, once the Latin teacher either moved on or retired, there were no teachers to replace them. And so we just don't have Latin anymore. That's how that works. When you send your kids in 5 years to school and it's gone, it's not there, that is how that happens. And if you take on student loan debt, you're agreeing to delay putting down roots. You're going to delay starting a family. You're going to delay being entrepreneurial. You're going to delay being charitable. You can't have one or the other because it's constantly going to be leaving people behind.
Mounting a campaign as you are, you're going up against the incumbent. Certainly it's going to cost you some money. If you're a Joe voter and you're in the state of Arizona watching this and you think to yourself, well, I've got $25, but I don't really see how that could really do anything for Heather MacDonald in Pennsylvania. Can you talk a little bit about how far that money can go for a campaign such as yours?
Joe, don't even get me started, Joe voter. My God, Joseph. I used to think the same thing too. I used to think, let's wait until their campaign's a little bit more viable. Let's wait until they meet some sort of criteria of mine as a voter. However, people that you know now on the national scale, where do you think they started? They started exactly where I am. And so you can easily get a Mitch McConnell who starts here and he goes unchecked and he becomes exactly what he is now. Or you can help us down here become who you want to see. But you got to start somewhere, and it's local. When you donate to a small campaign, we all know it. We all get the alert and we freak out. Like we create these, like Sarah sits down and she uses her skills and we like brainstorm over verbiage. We create these and we hand them out so people can remember. We try to make sure it's as helpful and useful as possible. Business cards, I'm at events, I'm handing them out so that people know so that we can get more donors together. $5 is hugely valuable. 1 hour of volunteer time, hugely valuable. Every single thing is noticed. You will never go unnoticed if you give to a small campaign.
Excellent. Heather for PA on Twitter, Heather for PA on Instagram, Heather for PA on Facebook, and the website, voteheatherforpa.com. Heather MacDonald running for the 87th district in Pennsylvania. Best of luck to you. You have such wonderful enthusiasm that I was looking forward to this interview all week long.
I'm really happy to be here. I was looking forward to it too. It's mutual.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much.